So we got this Miata dropped off last night. The owner says it's got a problem with the rear diff. So, traffic noise. So the owner says it's got a problem with the rear diff. Before we do anything, we'll just take a quick peek underneath. Make sure, the drive shafts are still connected. That we're not gonna tear something up. Everything looks like it's pretty much in place under here. So we're gonna fire it up and see what it does. So far, so good. So I wasn't sure exactly what to expect, but it does move. So the diff, if it is a diff problem, it's not totally blown apart. Everything sounds pretty normal so far. We'll just go around the block here a little bit. Sort of seems okay so far. Second gear. Oh. So it seems like on decel, yikes. Okay, so that could definitely be something powertrain related. The idea is when you're accelerating, you're on one side of the tooth of each gear, and when you're coasting, you're on the other side. So you can get a totally different sound under acceleration. Seems basically fine. Ooh, even in neutral, getting some sound. So we're gonna try a couple different gears just to make sure that it is the diff and not one specific gear in the trans. So we'll try first gear. Yep, definitely makes the noise in first. We know it made it in second already. Now third gear. Oh yeah. Yeah, it even does it in neutral. That sort of has to be the diff. But you never know. Could also be like a motor mount or a diff mount, or something moving in position and making contact on decel versus acceleration. The motor sort of tips one way versus the other. Fourth gear. Yeah, so I'm starting to think it's not trans related. So we're gonna head back to the shop, and I think the next thing we'll do is inspect the underside and probably drain the diff fluid, see if there's any clues in there. But definitely starting to sound like a diff problem. All right, we'll get it put up in the air. We'll see what we got. Oh, that's another thing. There's a clunk, maybe you can hear it. If I let out the clutch kind of aggressively, big metallic clang, some sort of backlash in the system, either worn out gear teeth, basically leaving play and gives you that clunk. There it is. Yeah, it's like some sort of play in the system, some sort of gap closing really hard. Well, we're gonna have a look. All right, so the first thing I noticed is there's fluid that dripped out of the rear end of this. And you can see it's got a bit of a metallic sheen to it. Oh my. Yeah, so you can see the fluid that's all come out here, and it looks like the pinion shaft has actually come forward. This shaft here should be further inside the diff. Something definitely doesn't look right there. Yeah, you can see it's just covered in fluid, so I think we can pretty clearly say that that's the diff causing those noises. We'll drain out the fluid, see what else we can see. Wow, some really bizarre corrosion on this control arm. Never really seen anything like that. And yet the other side is pretty clean. Pretty strange. Well, we're gonna drain out the fluid, and I don't think it's gonna be surprising to anyone. There's probably gonna be a lot of stuff in that oil. All right, we're gonna drain out the fluid now. There might not be much in it based on how much is everywhere else. We'll see if there's anything cool in here. Oh. Well, I don't see any big pieces yet. But there's definitely plenty of metal in it.
Pretty.
Well, I don't think there's any debate. The diff's gotta come out. All right, so we've got most of it apart here, and we're starting to get a little better clue about what's going on. It looks like maybe this differential has been worked on before, and maybe they didn't torque the nut properly, because this whole flange is actually falling off. You can see the threads there. The nut would be then trapped right now between the prop shaft and the flange. But it looks like that nut backed off, which would then allow this to move around and destroy that seal. And then once you lose the fluid, you only get a few miles without fluid in the diff. And we saw when we drained it, there was some in there, but not nearly what should have been. Should have been almost a quart. Probably less than half of that is what came out. The other thing I noticed, you can see in the PPF here, there's the two different size holes. There should be a collar pressed in there that holds the nut, and that was missing, which I don't think that caused the problem. But that's a clue to me to say, you know, somebody has potentially had this diff out previously, or, you know, for some reason they were working on something in this area. And then now to see that this flange fell off is, that's pretty unusual. Never actually seen that happen before, so that makes me start thinking that that nut may have had a problem, or, I mean, it is always possible that the bearing in there started to fail and cause the nut to lose tension, but pretty unusual failure mode that we're seeing here. So now we've got the diff all the way out. Get a little closer look. And it is sort of what I was expecting to see. That, yeah, I mean, this part of, or this flange, the nut just completely came off. So this was the prop shaft here, kind of came off all as one piece. But yeah, the nut is just sitting in there. It's like the nut just backed off, which would definitely explain the fluid loss, and then the fluid loss would almost immediately cause the diff to fail. So it's a pretty unusual one. Definitely the first one that I've seen. So there you have it.